Hey, it's longest solo ever, and today we're going to be talking about creating and modding your own character into Friday Night Funkin'. This video is going to be using Adobe Animate, which is the standard tool most Friday Night Funkin' modders use. If you don't have Animate, I'm making a video for you as well. I'll link it in the description below. But for this video, we'll be using Animate and then Friday Night Funkin's Psych engine as our modding platform. So Adobe Animate used to be known as Flash. This was the program that like every website and animation and game on the internet was done in for like the entire 2000s. It's really fallen in popularity lately for a lot of reasons, but one place it is still really popular is on Newgrounds, especially in Friday Night Funkin'. And the main reason it's so popular in Friday Night Funkin' is because it can generate the Spritesheet files that we need to mod these characters into the game. It's a really specific format that you can't just put out of, Photoshop or Paint or anything. It has to come out of Animate or a handful of other programs that exist, but Animate is the standard we all use. Now, I want to preface this by saying this is not a drawing tutorial. You should not take a drawing tutorial from me. It is not my skill set. I'm a guitar player for a reason, but I will be going over the steps and the technical aspects you need to get this working, along with some basic Adobe Animate concepts that hopefully those of you with more drawing skill than me can use better. The first thing you need to do when making a Friday Night Funkin' character is open a new file in Animate. So we're going to click New File, and then let's go with Full HD, and our frame rate is going to be set to 24. That's very important that you set this right, otherwise your character's movements will be a little off. And we're greeted with this nice big blank screen, and the first thing I always do when I'm starting a new character is I will grab a character from Friday Night Funkin's original characters, right from their sprite sheet, which is under Assets, Shared, Images, Characters, and then pull in like Daddy Dearest or somebody that I want to reference as far as size goes, just so I have him here, get a good idea of how big this character is going to be, because I could be drawing and I could draw him, way too small, and then he'd be looking ridiculous in the game, right? Now, like I said, I'm not an artist, so I can only kind of give you the concepts we're working with as far as the technical aspects go. And one of the most helpful things you can do is draw your character in separate parts, almost like Lego pieces that we can put back together and animate separately for the different poses, for different frames in the animation. So I'm going to draw the most basic character ever. This is going to be literally nothing. I'm actually stopping here because I want to take this head I've drawn, and yes, that's the best head I can draw, and I'm going to turn this into an object that we can use for later. So I'm going to select everything, and you can see it's selected by the tiny little dots on it, and we're going to turn this into a symbol. So you can choose Modify, Convert to Symbol, or you can just hit F8, which is a lot quicker. We're going to make this a graphic, and we could just name this Head. Easy. And you can see now it's this thing, whereas before it was this raw kind of shape stuff that we could break. And we don't want that. We want just a nice rock solid object that we can't mess with. So we've got that done. I'm going to draw some more on top of that in a separate layer. Now, layers are just what they sound like. Like imagine pieces of paper you're stacking on top of each other, except they're transparent. You can see through them to what's below. So we're going to name this Head. And now I'm going to add a new layer with this little button here. And we're going to name this Face. And I'm just going to go through and draw pieces of this dude. We can zoom in a little bit here, so we can see better this garbage we're making here. That works. And then I'm going to just click this little keyframe here, select the entire face. You notice only the face is selected, not the stuff behind it, and hit F8 again. And we're going to create face. And this is going to be his idle face. We're going to draw a different face for when he's singing in the different positions. That way his mouth is open when he's singing up, down, left, and right. But this is good for idle. Okay, let's draw a body. And this body layer is going to go under the head. So I'm going to drag it down here because we want it to show up behind the head. Like if I draw stuff, we want it to be, you can see how it ended up behind the head there. Good. Let's draw a body for this poor guy. And again, I'm just selecting that body layer, turning it into an object. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to add some more layers here. Same concept. And you know what? I'm super lazy. We're going to duplicate that. So I'm just right-clicking on the layer, duplicate layers, This is going to be his left arm. Boop. And just make sure you kind of structure your layers in a way that makes sense. Your left arm, the arm that's in front is going to be over the legs, but behind the shirt, right? So you're just kind of moving these layers around. You wouldn't do like this, for example. Or put this arm in front of the body. That doesn't make any sense. You're just kind of layering your layers in a way that makes sense. Okay, he doesn't have any feet. I'm so sorry. So we have a symbol, and now you can see all of these are objects that we can drag around, right? What we're going to do now is animate this this bunch of pieces we've made into a few different animations, some different directions, right, left, up, down, and an idle animation as well. So what we're going to do is take these layers we've made, face, head, body, left arm, legs, right arm, all of these, select all of them. So you can click on one, hold shift, and then click the last one to select them all. Right click on it and say copy layers. And now we're going to make a new symbol. So we're going to say insert new symbol. And this one is going to be a movie clip, not a graphic like all the others, just a movie clip. And we're going to name it idle. Now we have a brand new space. You can see we're inside the idle movie clip. And we're going to right click now by these layers and choose paste layers. And now we have all our layers from before. Oh, Daddy Dearest came along with us. We can get rid of him. Whoops. Okay. And we have this extra layer 1. Let's get rid of that. Right click and delete layer. Okay. So here's our little dude. We need to animate him now. He needs to move around, right? So the way Animate works is by using what are called keyframes. A frame is just every single instant of a computer drawing something to the screen. It's every single picture you're seeing in this video right now. It's all the pictures that make up this movement you're seeing. So fortunately, we don't need to redraw every single frame or we would go absolutely crazy, right? So we can use these pieces we've made and just move them around a little bit on each frame. We can even make Animate do some of the work for us, which I'll show you later. Let's start with a simple idle animation. Typically for Friday Night Funkin', idle animations will be someone kind of just like bopping their head on the downbeat, like, you know, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to do. That bop actually happens on the very first frame. So we're going to start with our animation here, but I kind of like this pose we have him in here as something normal. Let's take this frame, this collection of positions. I'm going to copy frames after selecting all of them, and I'm going to paste them over here on frame 5. Now on frame 1, I'm going to make him just kind of bop his head down a little bit. So I have his head selected. I'm just going to use the arrow keys to nudge it down, bring his face with it. And I don't know, maybe I'll make his arms kind of flail out a little bit. Seems like kind of a wacky dude. I'm using the free transform tool here, just grabbing it by the corner and rotating his arms, moving this pinpoint so it rotates properly. And let's say his body just kind of rocks forward a little bit. And you can see that's a really simple little animation. Boop, boop. Cool. So when I press play, you'll see it hangs on this stage for a few frames and then flips to this one. And we want this position to last a bit longer. This is kind of his resting state. So I'm going to go out to 24 here. Select all these frames, right click, and say insert frame. This doesn't need to be a keyframe because it's staying the same as everything before it. A keyframe is where actual movement happens. So you can see nothing changes until we hit this next keyframe with this dot, right? So let's turn on looping here by clicking this button, and I'm going to hit play. Oops, I have to move this loop so it extends across the whole thing, and I'm going to hit play. Yeah, that's a functioning idle animation. It's not great, but it works. Something we can do to smooth this out, if this feels like it's a little jerky, kind of, a little too snappy, we can add what's called a tween, which is fills in the spaces in between, which is where the name comes from, one position and another in an animation. So I'm going to go to each of these things that we moved. Here's the face. I'm going to right-click this frame and choose Create Classic Tween. And you'll see now there's smooth movement from one to the other. That's pretty cool. I'm going to do that on all these pieces. Even though not all of them moved, it doesn't do anything if nothing happens. So You can see, whoa, oh no. Something's happened there with his arms. Let's figure that out. I have a feeling it's because I moved the pinpoint on there. You can see here they're in the center, and here they're in the corner. Okay, so to fix that, right click, remove frames entirely, and then add a new keyframe one more time, and we're going to rotate it back into place. And now that arm's fixed. Okay, cool. So we can do the same thing with his other arm. We're going to remove frames, add a new keyframe, and rotate it back into place. And now we have, oh, we got to add frames for the rest of this space. Okay. And now we have movement. And you can tweak these. There's a million tutorials on how to animate things in Animate. This is more focused on how to bring things into Friday Night Funkin'. This is just the basics here. There is so much you can do in Animate with characters. Just for an example of how much movement you can have in a character, here's Gentbot from my mod. You can see how many layers he has and how much complex movement is going on in these different parts. And you can redraw, like I could have drawn a new arm for every frame of this. You can redraw parts, and that's often something people will do when they can draw better than me. But for now, you can see this works pretty well. He's not perfect, but he's cute. And then there's this guy. So you can see we have a functioning idle animation now. We want the other directions as well, right? What I'm going to do is go to my library. Library is where you have all the different pieces you've made. So you can see here's his body, his face, his head, the idle animation we just did, legs, and the right arm. Those are all the different pieces we have. If you don't see your library tab up here, you can go to Windows, Library, and you should find it. And what we're going to do is take this idle animation we just made, and we're going to duplicate it. And we're going to name this one Right. And then we're going to double click on Right. Make sure you do this and you don't just accidentally animate over the idle animation we just did. You'll know you're in the right place if you look up here and see Right and not idle up here. I've done that a million times and I've accidentally animated over the last thing I was just doing, and it's super frustrating. So, oh, and this is a good time to mention, save your work really freaking often, please. So like, here's tutorial guy. Okay, we're going to do a right animation. And it doesn't really matter where we start from because this can be a totally different pose. He's going to lean forward for this right animation. So I'm going to select all these frames past this one and remove everything but the first few frames, right? And now let's pick a position for him. He's going to really lean into this. So even his pants are going to come forward. I don't know how he's like doing this. He's just kind of standing on his toes, I guess. And he's going to reach forward like this. On his left arm really needs to be in front of his body at this point, I guess. There we go, even though that's not ideal. Man, this guy's a mess. And what we want to... He just looks so stupid, I'm sorry. Okay, what we want to do is draw a face for him that's singing, right? So let's go to our face idle, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to duplicate his face. This is going to be face sing. I'm going to double click on face sing. And now we're in here. I'm just going to redraw his mouth. Yeah, that's something. Let's go back to our right animation. And we're going to delete his face. And on the same layer, we're making sure we're still on the same layer. I'm going to drag on face sing. And there he is. Now he's singing. That's the sound he makes. We're going to use the same character all through the tutorial. So he's going to... We got to get used to him, folks. I should have put more effort in. So there he is in all his glory. Something that people like to do a lot for Friday Night Funkin' animations, you can do like fully animated looping animations for each direction, like I did for Gentbot here. He looks like this. He's just kind of like jiggling in that direction. But something the originals do that I kind of missed is there's not really a looping animation. They just kind of jerk forward and then bounce back a little bit. It doesn't loop. So that's what we're going to do here. He's going to lean more forward and then he's going to bounce back a bit. Again, on frame, like let's say 4, I'm going to add more keyframes, one for each layer. And then he's just going to kind of chill back a little bit. Not much. It's going to be a very subtle movement. His arms are going to come back into their sockets there. Man, he's just really something, isn't he? His head comes back here. And we can just leave it there because we're going to set this to not loop the animation. So he's going to get there and then stop like this. Whoop. Bounce back. Whoop. You can see there's very slight motion there. That's great. I'm going to recreate that for every direction. I'm going to do left, up, and down. Again, duplicating right, making left, double clicking on it, starting with the first frame. He's going to lean back. And so are his pants. If you ever want to undo all the rotation and any scaling and stuff you've done, you can select the thing you want to edit, go to Modify, Transform, and then Remove Transform, and it'll, oh God, and it'll put him back to relatively normal. For this, he's just going to kind of look up, like, ah, and both his arms are just going to flail out completely unnaturally for this. That's great. So it's starting to look more like a creepypasta character than I anticipated, and that's okay. I don't like that his top half separates from his pants, but it is what it is. There we go. That's better. I don't know if better is the word, but it's something. And here is his down animation. Again, just removing those rotations. He's just going to kind of look at himself pensively, wondering how it came to this. Maybe he kind of squishes down just a little. Okay, we now have all the directional animations as well as an idle. We're going to go back to our main Animate session by clicking this back arrow here, which takes us back to scene 1. You can see we're kind of back at the home base. And we can delete daddy over here. And what we're going to do, we can move our original raw parts down here, and we can just bring in each of our animations. So you can see them identified by this little movie clip icon. I don't actually know what that's supposed to represent. It's kind of a gear turning. That's weird. You can see here's our idle, our left, our right, and I'm just dragging these into the stage. And our down, God help us, there they all are. Great, so there they are. That's nice if you want to just look at them, but we need to bring them into Friday Night Funkin'. To do that, we need to generate a Spritesheet, and Animate has this built in. We're going to select each of these in the library over here. You can hold Control and click on them as you go. So here's up, right, left, idle, and down. We got all 5. And then I'm going to right-click on any one of them and choose Generate Spritesheet. And you can see it makes this thing with all the frames standing next to each other, every single one. And we're going to save this. I'm going to save this to my Documents folder. This is Tutorial Guy, and you can leave everything else as is. I do like to turn on Trim and Stack Frames, as it'll save a little bit of space, but you can leave everything default, and then hit Export. And then you can save and close Animate. We are done with that app for now. Next step is bringing it into Psych Engine, bringing it into your game. Okay, I want to take a moment to talk about the 2 different ways we can package this mod. Psych Engine is really cool in that it doesn't really require you to compile any source code. If you watched the video before this, you know we did compile the source code just so we could have it running on our computer, and we could eventually package this into an exe file just like this. But what's nice about Psych Engine is you don't actually need to do that. You can just drop your mod files into this mods folder and have it run. But that requires anybody you give this to already have Psych Engine installed and to know how to do that. So I prefer to package my mods as exe files rather than just mod folders for Psych Engine. We will go over both ways of doing this, and while we're testing things, we will be using just a plain old Psych Engine folder that's already built. If you watched the last video and you built Psych Engine with me, you know I already have a folder here with the source code and all of that stuff. If you already did that, you compiled it, you waited 20 minutes, you went and made a cup of tea while all the code was running, all that stuff, go into your export folder in there, into Release, Windows, Bin, and you will have a Psych Engine folder. This is like a finished built Psych Engine. If you just downloaded the game Psych Engine from Game Banana, you would get this folder exactly. So you can test things in here. You can bookmark this folder and put it in your sidebar, or you can just download Psych Engine and we can test things there. And if you want, you can build it with source code later. We'll go over how to do that. I'll make a whole separate video about building exe file games later. For now, we want to be in a Psych Engine folder that has a folder called Mods. I want you to go into that Mods folder, into the Images folder, and finally into the Characters folder. And right here is where we're going to drop the files we made just a minute ago in Animate. You can see I have tutorialguy.png and .xml. So I'm going to take both of these, drop these right into this folder. We're going to go all the way back out to the folder with Psych Engine in it, and we're going to run it. Now, Psych Engine runs just like Friday Night Funkin' if you don't go into any of the editors, anything like that. It is, for all intents and purposes, just plain old Friday Night Funkin'. They've changed a few things about how the gameplay works, and some cool stuff like adding these backgrounds in the weeks, but otherwise, it is basically just Friday Night Funkin'. But they've added some incredible tools for character making, modding, all that stuff, right from the home menu here. So when you get to this home menu, you are going to hit number 7 on your keyboard, the one above your letter keys, not over by the keypad. So we hit 7, we're brought to this new screen, and we're going to go down to Character Editor. Not Menu Character Editor, we'll get to that later. Just Character Editor, and hit Enter. And you can see we're brought to this screen on the stage, which is fun. What we want to do, let's pick a character other than Boyfriend. Boyfriend has way too many animations for what we're doing. Let's pick somebody really simple. Let's just go with Mom. And this is where things get a little complicated. I'm going to make this screen a little bigger so we can see it. And we want to go to Image File Name first, delete the text, Mom Assets, and we're going to change that to whatever file you named this. So mine is Tutorial Guy. You can leave off the .png or the .xml, anything like that. And we're just going to click Reload Image. Boop, and there he is. Man, he's something, huh? Next, we're going to go over to Animations, and one by one, we're going to move his animations into place so they all sit in the right area. First, we have Idle, and this is a little finicky in that you have to kind of click on it and select it again in order to load things properly. So we click on this, we choose Idle, leave animation name the same, do not ever change that. But down where it says Animation on XML TXT file, this is going to be whatever you named the symbol in Animate. So remember, we named them Idle, left, right, up, down. Really simple. Make sure you match capitalization and everything. If you need to double check yourself, you can always go into the XML file and you will see down, idle, left, right, and up. Ignore the numbers. Those are the frame numbers. We don't want to use that. We just want this text here. So I kept it simple. My idle animation is just named idle, and we do want the idle animation to loop. So yes, should it loop? Yes. Hit add update. And there we go. That was pretty good. There's his idle. Nice. It's going to change this. You can ignore that. You have to choose it again. Click on here. Click sing left. Delete all this. And I'm just going to type left. This one should not loop because we chose not to animate it in a way that looping would make sense. Done. We choose sing right. Should not loop. Sing down, down, sing up, up. Do we get all of them? I think so. And you can check by using these controls on the right. W and S are going to let us scroll through the animations. There's idle, left, right, down, and up. But he's all over the place, right? He's moving way too much. This doesn't... I mean, you could do that if you want it to look really ridiculous, but we don't necessarily want that. We're going to choose one animation to get in the right place first. We're going to start with his idle, and I'm actually going to nudge these until it says idle 0, 0. I want to get that right on 0, 0, and we're going to use the character positioning to get them in the right place first. So go back to this character tab and use character XY to adjust him to a place that makes sense for him right on the stage here, right? Now we can go back to animations and go one by one through his positions and bring them back to where they need to be. I'm holding shift and pressing arrow keys, and he's just kind of nudging back into place. Now, it could be really hard to remember where you had each animation, so I'm going to use an animation ghost. And check it out, I selected idle, and now I can see him. And look, I can just place him where he needs to be. I'm using S to scroll through the animations, W to go back. Just using these commands on the right, scrolling through, and now I should have a couple other things. We can add a health icon and an RGB value for the health bar, which we can put anything here. RGB is red, green, and blue, so mixing those 3 different colors gives you any color you want. If we wanted like a nice blue, this nice light blue for this character, we could do like 80, 80, and 255. Yeah. And then finally, I'm going to save this character. And I'm going to go right to that same folder under mods. We're going to mods, not images, but just characters. And we're going to name this guy tutorial guy. And finally, we can press escape after you save. Don't do this before you save. And get out of there. Let's test him out in game. I'm going to hit escape one more time. Let's free play and go to any song you like. Let's put him on Blammed. That'll be funny. Once the song starts, hit number 7 again. This will bring you to the chart editor, which we'll be using in another episode where we cover charting. Go to the song tab of the chart editor, and we're going to change opponent Pico to, scroll down, you should see tutorial guy. If you don't see tutorial guy, check your mods characters folder, and he should be in there, tutorialguy.json. You'll see it change to whatever icon you used, or if you've put in a health icon, which we'll do a tutorial on, that'll be there. And you can hit enter. And there he is. He's a little off. Let's see how he looks animated. That's not bad. Okay, I do want to adjust him a little bit. So I'm going to hit number 8 on the keyboard. 8, while you're in a song, brings you to the character editor for that character. And I just want to bring him down a little bit more. So on the character tab under character XY, I'm going to move him down a little further with the Y value and over to the right a little further with the X value. I'm going to save him again. You can save right over the file and then press escape to return back to the game. That's a little closer. I'm going to do it one more time. We're going to just keep adjusting him down and to the right.
3, 2, 1.
That's looking good. Really quick, I do want to make a health icon for this character because it's bugging me that he's still using moms. You can find the health icons in Psych Engine, Assets, Images, Icons. And we're just going to grab one of these and pull it into any drawing program you have. I'm going to use Photoshop, and I'm just going to drag this icon face in here, make a new layer, and draw over it. Just kind of using it as an example. And you can hide the original layer you were using and export this. It's really important that you place these icons in exactly the same location in the image as the one you're using an example of, because if you don't, they'll be cut off, like Friday Night Funkin' is looking for them in a really specific place. Now, you're going to save these not exactly where you found them. We're going to go back out to Mods, Images, Icons, and save it as icon, and this is really important, icon dash your character name. So this will be icon dash tutorial guy, and save. We're going to go back into Friday Night Funkin' one more time, and we're going to edit this character one last time, changing his health icon name to just his name, tutorial guy. And there he is. We can save his character one last time, and that's it. We've got a character. Cool. Next up, we are making our own stage to put into Friday Night Funkin', so we have a cool background to play against. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos like this one, posted just about every day here on Longest Solo Ever, along with guitar covers and gameplay, you know, all kinds of stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and happy modding.